So Beetlejuice 2 looks like crap, but it can be fixed. The filmmakers still have time to make some adjustments in post-production, though they won't. Now, this video isn't going to be about whether having a Beetlejuice sequel is necessary or not. I hate that conversation because no movie is 100% necessary. The quality of the end product is what justifies any film's existence. As long as a film is good, who cares if it needed to be made? And this video is also not about if the film itself, the script, the story actually will be good, because I haven't seen enough, I don't know enough about it yet. So all I have to go off on is the visual look of the film, the vibe it's giving off, the ambiance, the aesthetic, which is a major aspect, and it looks like shit. Not just because it isn't adhering to the very distinctive vibe of the original. I mean, I expect a contemporary mainstream studio movie to not fully look like something from the 80s. It just doesn't look good as its own thing either. It looks like what most recent Tim Burton projects have looked like, a soulless, lifeless, flat, cheap imitation of a Tim Burton movie rather than the real deal. The original Beetlejuice carries a sort of handcrafted charm that makes it timeless because it deliberately is designed that way. The world of the film, the practical special effects, the conceptualization, it's all very stylized with an imaginative arts and crafts sensibility that isn't supposed to look real or grounded, but convey a specific mood, a specific aesthetic. This type of filmmaking is very rare, almost non-existent, in the current landscape of contemporary studio movies, which all aim to be more grounded and realistic and heavy on the CGI. So a modern Beetlejuice film is just not expected to have that same level of handmade artistry and unapologetic whimsy, and apparently they are going for an old-school practical approach with the special effects, which is nice, even though it still seems quite CG heavy. But the major issue is that practical approach doesn't mesh with the aesthetic they're going with for the film. The effects look wonky in an unappealing, cheap way rather than wonky in an intentional, fun, charming way, because the vibes are off and the cinematography, lighting, and color grading are horrendous. This thing looks ugly as hell. It has that harsh, overly sharp, clean, digitized look that has infected so many recent productions and makes it feel like a disposable Netflix thing. It actually reminds me a lot of Tim Burton and Jenna Ortega's first collab, Wednesday, which was the ugliest looking project I had seen from Burton and came across more like someone else trying to emulate his style and doing so in a very gaudy, cheap, visionless, artless way. And it even kind of gives off the energy of Rob Zombie's atrocious The Monsters movie, though with better production value. Anyway, we first need to address this plague of filmmakers thinking that more clarity, more sharpness, and overly clean, crisp imagery with the highest resolution possible is what makes a film look the best, and that's just not the case. And often it produces less atmosphere, conveys less mood and emotion. If you want to explore the details of the topic of cinema's recent obsession with high resolution, as well as the conversation of film versus digital, I highly recommend the channel In-Depth Cine. They do a great job of breaking all of that down. But yeah, I really think a Beetlejuice movie would benefit from being shot on film rather than digital, especially because that practical, handcrafted sensibility associated with the title is complemented more with a filmic look, which is soft and smooth, but also textured and rich, full of character, provoking a strong mood. But they didn't do that. They shot it on digital and it looks very clean and harsh and devoid of any charm. And there's no going back. They've already shot it that way, but that doesn't mean it has to continue looking the way it does in the trailer. They can still add character to it. They can take a different approach with the color grading. They can emulate a more filmic look or even try to replicate the look of film in post-production. They still have the time to improve the look of this thing, add halation, soften the image, play around with contrast and color, tone down the highlights, add subtle film grain, create a more distinctive mood. Off the top of my head, some recent films that were shot digitally and aimed to give off a more filmic look to varying degrees include May December, Showing Up, X, Knives Out, Lady Bird, Theater Camp, and much more that I can't think of at the moment. And then there's films like Dune and The Batman, which shoot digitally and then transfer the digital image onto film, then scan back to digital, which is a process I personally don't like because it just takes layers away from a digital image and muddies it up rather than taking on the actual attributes of film. But Beetlejuice 2 needs to do something because the marriage of contemporary sensibilities with old school techniques looks disastrous, thoughtless, sloppy, janky. This sandworm? Good God. I was so curious how they were going to approach this guy, and it looks to be CGI trying to emulate the look of claymation, but without the texture and character of actual claymation, in addition to the digitized photography, so it looks not right. Stylistically confused. They need to commit. The world of Beetlejuice is exaggerated, even a bit cartoony, but in the original film that feels natural, and the clear craftsmanship put into everything makes all of the wackiness not feel lowbrow or juvenile or tacky or gaudy. It feels artful in a fun, imaginative way. I can't say the same for Beetlejuice 2. It does not feel organic in its zaniness. Point is, the film photographically looks like poop and is hijacking the vibe. And once again, I don't know if the actual content of the movie will be worthy. It has the potential to do something, but the writers also are behind the show Wednesday, which fundamentally misunderstood the character and was generally a generic mess on top of that. Plus, Tim Burton has fallen far from grace and doesn't seem to have much vision anymore, so I hope this turns out okay. I know one way to improve it already, and that's to make it not look like garbage. Okay, so what do you think? That's all I have to say for the moment. Okay, bye-bye.